Protection warriors are amazing, and this one is going to be my third level 80 in the War Within, my friends. And today I thought I'm gonna switch the gears a little bit and teach you something by doing it, okay? And this is going to be a dungeon walkthrough. Yeah, we will see what random dungeon pops up right now, and I will also make commentary as I run through the dungeon, tanking it on my protection warrior. If this is your cup of tea, just as a change of pace, yeah, it's not exclusive new content or whatever, but do give me a quick like, and your comments are always welcome. So this is a real-time thing. We're doing it live, and it is the Rookery. Rookery is a good dungeon. I'm quite a fan of Rookery. I'm gonna reduce the background noise a little bit. I'm gonna say hello to everyone using one of the macros. This macro is actually handy, in my humble opinion, because it allows you to be polite, as well as not waste too much time, as well as mark yourself immediately. And I think marking yourself as a tank is generally a very good thing. First thing I do in the Rookery, I go in, I jump straight away, and I'm grabbing these central mobs. You don't need to bother doing anything with the sides here. You are just going in the middle. As you can see, I'm using weak auras to track my ignore pain and shield block as two most important things. We touch this orb, and then we fly. And because it's a warrior and warrior cannot be killed, well, we can, but you have to try very hard. I'm going straight ahead. I don't need to wait for the healer, at least in a normal dungeon. Of course, in Mythic, I do not recommend such recklessness. If it's more than 3 targets and my shockwave is off cooldown, on warrior I love the shockwave playstyle. It works very well for me. So I am going to use shockwave, obviously, to stop them in their way, build a bit of extra threat on them, on the targets, as well as do some damage, a little bit of damage. This is a Mountain Thane build, and I'm not 80 yet. I'm 79 right now. I'm gonna ding 80 today after doing a couple of these dungeons, and one of them I decided to record for you. I love Mountain Thane playstyle. I haven't checked Slayer playstyle, and I might follow up on Slayer with you. I don't pretend to be an expert on Warrior as a DPS. In fact, I'm far from it. However, I'm a pretty good tank, I think. And yes, I find this playstyle very appealing. Typically, I would go for something that would be self-healing, very self-healing. But the Warrior, as you know, has a lot of self-heal, passive self-heal that we get. But at the same time, the beauty of the warrior and the difference, and what I really enjoy compared to other classes, which I also enjoy, such as Paladin, is the fact that warrior simply prevents the incoming damage. Warriors ignore the pain, block a lot of damage, and generally they are steel wall. That's what I really particularly enjoy about the warrior tanks, in case you're still trying to learn the dungeons as well as choose the class. So, Curious is our first boss over here. The only tricky thing about him is this exact beam. And I'm gonna stand there and bang simply because, as you can see, my health practically didn't even dip. It's virtually impossible to avoid this beam fully unless you have cleared the whole room, which we didn't. And I recommend that unless you're doing high Mythic Plus things where this damage would be a lot more substantial and could kill you, I think it's much easier for you to simply take it on the chin rather than clear the whole room. We jump down and we take one of these feathers. Take a feather. Do not go further without a feather. And then simply glide down like this, slow down fall, avoiding these purple things. Take your time. You don't need to do anything particular. People who want to rush ahead, they can, but you don't need to. As a warrior, charge into the next group. Leave the group in the corner, don't worry about them. Follow straight line. Take these people here in the corner, kind of just follow the straight line as you walked in from the drop that we just did. Take these guys, use your shockwave. That's your bread and butter. Make sure that your ignore pain and block are up. If you ever see my health dipping a little bit, it's because I'm getting a lot of targets, obviously, and the ignore pain dropped off. I also have the talent Shield Charge. Shield Charge does exactly what it says on the tin, and you can read it in the tooltip, obviously. You charge, you stun, and you generate block as well, so it automatically gives you block. So between your actual charge, between your bread and butter Thunderclap, that is Mountain Thane's bread and butter, you will be basically thunderclapping on cooldown, and you'll be charging, making sure that your shield block is maintained. And before you ask, and I probably should have made it a bit clearer, what is this very first button? What is on my first number 1, map to number 1? Map to number 1 is a lazy man's protection warrior. It's not a cast sequence macro, but it works like a cast sequence macro, and that thing alone is what makes Protection Warrior so much more enjoyable for me, because I don't like too many buttons, and I like reasonable automation whenever possible. So in this case, my friends, what we're doing is we are using a sequence of, and I'll give you the macro in the description of this video. There are a sequence of abilities that are supposed to be cast as soon as your rage becomes available. As soon as you have rage for them, you cast them. And there is Shield Block, there is Ignore Pain, and there is Shield Slam. That is why, before you ask me, Gyro, where is your Shield Slam, mate? That's kind of bread and butter, mate. Of course it's bread and butter, but it is macroed in. So all I do is I mash that number 1. Occasionally I do Revenge. Revenge is obviously not in the macro. And I've seen a version of this macro that also embeds spell reflection, but I think it's a waste of a cooldown if you don't have incoming spell damage. I use Heroic Leap whenever I want to. In this, before the second boss, you can ignore the side ads because they'll start running to you. And they're very, very, very flimsy. They possess absolutely no threat, at least not in this difficulty of the dungeon. So you'll be able to kill them just as soon as they come in. So ignore them, come straight to the boss, don't stand in crap, and avoid the corners, these corners that start spreading out. How to do it? Best thing is to face him and be either front and center, or right at the back, or right at the side, because it's corners, basically. It's like a square around him that starts spreading out these beams, like this. I almost got hit by one, but I didn't. As you can see, if you're paying attention to my health, because Ignore Pain is always up, and because Shield Block is always up, and because I'm being reasonably smart, I suppose, and I don't pull unreasonably, I basically almost never get damaged. We leap ahead. I love this bit. We take these guys, and before, it's like once you kill them, this purpley swirl is going to be gone, and you're going to drop down again. As you can see, not too much commentary is required here on Rookery specifically, because Rookery is a very, very linear dungeon, and I like it. I do think that for speedruns, for something that if you are into Mythic and if you are going to push further on difficulty, I think Rookery, if I had to place my bets right now before Season 1 even started, I would say Rookery is going to be the place to be. You take this guy, you don't kill him here because you want to have AoE to make use of your AoE abilities, such as Thunderclap, and you pull into the first group. You leave that group on the pedestal there, not pedestal, but on a bit elevation. You leave them alone. You don't care about them. I don't like DPS that pulls for me, personally, but I'm not going to make a drama out of it. But as a tank, as a fresh tank who is learning the dungeons, be aware that your DPS might start pulling. As a warrior, you have amazing ability to crowd control. Once the mobs are almost dead, move. Move to the next group, grab the next group, that mob is going to be dead, and he's going to kind of chug along and come to me very, very soon. So we're going to kill these guys, or at least I typically start moving if I see that my DPS is doing okay. So I am monitoring DPS, as opposed to the popular belief tank has to look at everything. I have to look at if healer is keeping up with the heals. Of course, here it's like nothing to do. Of course, healers are keeping up, so that's not a factor. But is DPS keeping up? If they're keeping up, pull more. Pull more. But I would not pull another group until your initial mobs, these ones, are at least at 50%, excuse me. This is the final group to pull, after which the boss in the center, this purple swirly, will activate. And this is a special ability that becomes available randomly. If all mobs are still here, keep them in one place, so that this guy, the Storm Rider, will be able to drop his hammer and help you with DPS a little bit. It's not essential, but you can use it. And that's it, my friends. I hope you have enjoyed this little write-up. We are going to kill the boss, don't worry, don't go just yet. But do give me a quick like, it goes a long way. I like to produce more meaningful content for you, where you learn something, hopefully. Mainly, of course, none of my content is for experts, I never pretend. But I am a confident tank, and I hopefully can teach you simple pathing, confidence in terms of how to approach it, give you a couple of tips, as well as give you some macros and weak auras where applicable that help me. These little things mean nothing on this boss, particularly in normal, but I do recommend that you kill them and you get into the habit of killing them, because I'm sure they can evolve into something a lot more menacing in heroics and in mythics particularly. DPS is not amazing in this dungeon, which is why it takes tremendously embarrassing amount of time to kill this guy. Normally he's down a lot sooner. And if I knew that that would be the case, I would have said bye right around now, as opposed to a minute or so ago. Okay, my friends, he's down. Almost. Yes, he is down. We got our XP. XP is fantastic. Dungeons are great right now to level characters, to run through the characters if you don't want to do campaign again. That is another reason why going on a tank or a healer or someone who has a very, very quick queue is actually a very good, very rewarding experience right now. Again, I hope you enjoyed this and learned something new. Here's another dungeon popping. Maybe I'll see you in that next dungeon. But goodbye for now. Don't leave without leaving me a quick like. I'll see you later.